YouTube? This is your host, Ranee B, here to spill some of that homicidal tea. And we have a case that's all the way from Germany and France. And in France, they have a special blend of tea that I particularly love. It's that Punisher blend of homicidal tea. Now, my homicidal beauties, tell me, what do you think about vigilantes? I think I know the answer. Well, y'all know that I love them. Hell yeah. Give me some of that Punisher beat your ass for taking advantage of folks who can't take care of themselves kind of vibes any day. I love it. But then, if you take that pain from the loss of a child, combine it with the complete blindsided feeling of a bungled investigation leading to injustice, combined with a father's vigilante spirit with no care of recourse, that sounds like a story for me. In this case, we go all the way to the south of France, in a small village of about 900 or so people, one of which will not roll over in the wake of shoddy police work, dismissive detectives, and crap foreign policy, to be honest. Before we get into it, let me please remind you to smash that subscribe button like karma smashes the living crap out of everybody in this case. This is the case of Kalinka Bamberski. But wait, hold on. Before we get into the case, though, I gotta warn y'all about something. I bought a huge transition and special effects pack for my editing software. So I'm going to need to apologize in advance for all of those transitions that you will see. I get so entertained with these things, and I'm trying to learn how to use them, so why not try to use them here? Woohoo! Yeah, you'll be seeing a lot of those. Oh, there's another one. Sorry. On July the 10th, 1982, it was a hot summer morning in the southern city of Pechbousch, France. I hope I'm saying that right. Described as a commune in Haute-Garonne department of southwestern France. Now, remember, I was educated primarily in America, so I have no idea what that means. Well, when Andre Bamberski's phone started ringing, he was at home enjoying the morning, and he had just started a new relationship after divorcing his wife 7 years prior. The ex-wife had an affair with a doctor in 1975 and left Andre, taking both kids with her. Danielle, Andre's ex-wife, who lived in Lindau, Germany, with the aforementioned doctor, was on the phone. She broke some horrific news to Andre that their only daughter, 14-year-old Kalinka, had died. Andre was obviously astonished by what he had heard, but I mean, how on earth could his daughter be dead? She was a cheerful, healthy adolescent. She participated in tons of different kinds of sports. I mean, Danielle explained that Kalinka died in the middle of the night and that the autopsy had not yet been performed. But, I mean, it would be done soon, and Andre would learn from Krombach that he was the one who had discovered Kalinka's body and called authorities. And when authorities came and the emergency personnel arrived on the scene, Krombach told them that he had injected Kalinka with a substance that he refused to name. Okay, and he said he'd done so at 7:30 p.m. the night before. The substance was supposed to help her tan or help Kalinka get a faster, darker tan? Are you kidding me? Anyway, he then later claimed that when she couldn't sleep around midnight, he gave her a sleeping medication. During the autopsy, Krombach was allowed to be there. The coroner found vaginal tearing and blood on Kalinka's undergarments. Injection marks were also visible on her arms, legs, and throat. Okay. An examination of the genital region revealed a white substance. They also found undigested food in her stomach, and they assumed the time of death to be around 3 to 4 a.m. But that didn't jive with the undigested food. Kalinka had eaten at 7 p.m., and that food would have been way digested by then. And in addition, that white substance, never examined, never tested. But that's not all. They'd also removed her genital organs before further testing. I'm not sure why they would remove them, but regardless, they went missing. Okay, that's weird, right? But what's more, There were no toxicology tests performed. And that white substance, who knows? They never tested it. No slides were remaining, nothing from the autopsy. I can't believe I can say this, but it gets worse. When the commissioner called Krombach to get his statement, his story changed completely. He told the investigators during the initial conversation one thing. He told the commissioner a completely different story. He said he had injected her with cobalt and that Kalinka had also needed iron to cure her anemia. Are you crazy? When did that come up? He also went on to say that he discovered her unconscious body. He tried to wake her up by injecting her with dopamine and Dilaudid. Dilaudid. That strong-ass opiate. Okay, what in the actual The doctors came to the conclusion that there had been no foul play. They couldn't pinpoint the reason of her death, but experts speculated that Kalinka died of heart failure after suffering a sunstroke the day before while windsurfing. Okay, whatever. Andre Kalinka's father finally received a copy of his daughter's autopsy report 3 months later. And I mean, the case had been long closed, according to German, investigators by then. And he about fell over. When he read the report, he felt a flood of fear rush over him as it appeared that his daughter had been drugged, indecently assaulted, and murdered, and that her killer was out there leading his best doctor life. Well, this is where it starts getting good. Andre had made it his life's mission to track down Krombach. He insisted on a second autopsy being conducted, and when they finally exhumed Kalinka's body, unbelievably, it was revealed publicly that her reproductive organs had been removed. So then that would make it impossible to ever find out what that white substance was or get a DNA profile from it. Professor Spann of the Munich Forensic Institute evaluated the autopsy report. Krombach's statement was questioned by Spann, and he decided that the iron and cobalt injection was given much later than Krombach had said. When police refused to reopen the case, Andre went to Germany to deliver flyers to Krombach's neighbors. He had made flyers stating that he was a murderer and that he had been a sexual deviant and he had assaulted his daughter. He spread those all over the neighborhood. He also told them that they needed to know there was a sexual predator that was posing as a doctor in their town, and he supplied Krombach's name and address on the flyers. Andre also stated that Krombach had assaulted and killed his daughter. Well, Krombach didn't take that laying down. He fought back with a defamation suit and won, being awarded over 150,000 pounds, 210,000 US dollars in damages. And as I'm sure you can imagine, Andre refused to make even one payment good for you. But Andre didn't stop. I admire the living crap out of this guy. After years and years of trying to convince investigators to reopen the case, Andre was actually able to finally persuade authorities to charge Krombach with murder. They had to consider conducting the trial without Krombach's presence, though, due to the fact that Germany refused to extradite Krombach to France. Germany actually claimed that the case had been long resolved since 1987 and that German citizens could not be extradited for a criminal trial. Remember that one. The trial went forward and was held in 1995, and it was in absentia. Andre got his wish, though, and a 15-year sentence was handed down to Krombach. But Krombach never would really serve a day of it, kind of. But instead, he went on to live in Germany, happy, wonderful, married to his ex-wife still, and everything was great. You might have heard that phrase that you are who you are.
We are who we are. People don't change.
Yeah. Well, that phrase really makes itself known, as Krombach was convicted of drugging and indecently assaulting a teenage patient in his office while in Germany. But the punishment is, get this, a suspended sentence. Basically probation. Well, once word got out, though, more victims started coming forward, and several of our women would say that Krombach had drugged and attacked them as well. However, these cases were dismissed due to lack of forensic evidence. That's what happens a lot of times whenever these kind of cases come out, because there's just no physical evidence anymore because these women were too afraid to come forward. It sucks. But learning all of this coincidental attacks, Danielle divorced Krombach. She's like, F this. But Andre was furious, and he refused to give up his crusade for justice. After Krombach moved his addresses over and over and changed his phone number over and over, Andre decided it was time to get a private investigator to find him. Fast forward. In the morning of October 18th, 2009, French police received an anonymous tip from someone claiming that they would find a notorious fugitive on the residential street of Rue de Tellule in Mulhouse. I can't anyway. Rue de Tellule, in Mulhouse Drive. I'm going to put subtitles because my French is horrible. Dr. Dieter Krombach was bound, gagged, and bleeding on the pavement whenever they arrived. You might be wondering how Krombach ended up here. Well, Andre Bamberski was fed up with waiting for the justice system to get results, so he decided to take matters into his own hands. He hired 3 thugs, love those thugs, to kidnap Krombach and take him to Mulhouse, France, where he was apprehended by police. Now, can you believe this? Remember that wink I gave you earlier? Germany demanded the return of Krombach as well as the extradition of Bamberski. Oh my gosh. Well, they wanted the abductors too, but what do you mean you want them extradited? There was a time where we wanted him extradited, but you wouldn't extradite. Yeah, whatever. Instead, France charged Krombach in connection with Kalinka's death and released Bamberski on bail. See, now, they arrested both of them because Bamberski ain't exactly innocent. Is he, though? Well, but Krombach got no bail, and Bamberski did. So France, yeah. Well, Krombach's lawyer tried 7 times to have the case dismissed, but they were unsuccessful. And Andre said this trial is the culmination of 29 years of exhausting initiatives, of dysfunction and judicial bungling. It is so true that I have been relentless in my pursuit of the truth, and I regret nothing, even if I've sacrificed part of my life. And that's a good father, folks. Dieter Krombach was found guilty of deliberate violence leading toward an involuntary death. He was sentenced to 15 years in prison, finally ending one of the most inter- and intra-terrestrial cross-border judicial disputes in legal history. My first thought is for Kalinka, said Andre. What I promised her, what I wanted, was a complete and fair trial. Now that goal has been reached. Justice has been served. And in her memory, I can finally mourn for her. Well, you know, Andre didn't get off, though. No, sirree. Bamberski, he stood trial in France, confessing that he had been morally bound to abduct Krombach, and they threw the book at him. 1 year suspended jail sentence. During the trial, the prosecutor praised Andre for his courage and perseverance on the record. You go, France! Oh my gosh, the next time I eat a beignet, I'm going to toast France in high esteem. You guys rock. I mean, even if you don't have the death penalty, I mean, I came across a website that was, when I was researching how long it had been since you guys were pro-needle over there in France, and it turns out that France abolished the death penalty about 40 years ago, this last September on the 18th of 2021, 40 years prior, after the culmination of about 200 years of activism. The French voters, though, they remain divided on capital punishment 40 years later, and with opinion polls showing about half and half surveyed saying that they should reinstate the needle. France, I am liking you guys more and more every day. Well, but this is it for the Kalinka Bamberski case, and as always, thank you so much for stopping by and putting up with my transitions. Oh, there's another one. Yeah, you know you're always welcome to come here and spill a tea with me. This true crime tea. And I'll see you real soon on the next case. Until then, keep calm and true crime on. Over and out.